Hello. It's a bright, sunny day. The snow is melting, and I've been shoveling some of the leftover stuff. I have to make a path because they're going to remove an buried oil tank so that the owner of this house can sell it. So, um, I've been doing that. But I'm glad to be back reading and in this space with this light. I know some of my lighting is crazy, but I read where I can. I'm gonna need your support coming up if you want me to continue. We're reading from Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl because we're dealing with issues that Black women face. I went into work. I went into workhouse next morning. I went into the workhouse the next morning, excuse me, and saw the cowhide still wet with blood and the boards covered with gore. The poor man lived and continued to quarrel with his wife. A few months afterward, Dr. Flint handed them both over to a slave trader. The guilty man put their value into his pocket and had the satisfaction of knowing that they were out of sight and hearing. When the mother was delivered into the trader's hands, she said, "You promised to treat me well," to which he replied, "You have let your tongue run too far, damn you." She had forgotten that it was a crime for a slave to tell who was the father of her child. It's crazy, man. This society. From others than the master, persecution also comes in such cases. I once saw a young slave girl dying soon after the birth of a child nearly white. In her agony, she cried out, "Oh Lord, come and take me." Her mistress stood by and mocked at her like an incarnate fiend. "You suffer, do you?" she exclaimed. "I'm glad of it. You deserve it all, and more too. You blame the girl for your husband raping her." The girl's mother said, "The baby is dead, thank God, and I hope my poor child will soon be in heaven too." "Heaven," retorted the mistress, "there is no such place for the like of her and her bastard." The poor mother turned away, sobbing. Her dying daughter called her feebly, and as she bent over, I heard her say, "Don't grieve so, mother. God knows all about it, and He will have mercy upon me." People should ask God for some vengeance sometime. Not vengeance, but some action. Um, her sufferings afterwards became so intense that her mistress felt unable to stay. But when she left the room, the scornful smile was still on her lips. 7 children called her mother. The poor black woman had but one child, whose eyes she saw closing in death, while she thanked God for taking her away from the greater bitterness of life, black life. The slave's New Year's Day. Dr. Flint owned a fine residence in town, several farms, and about 50 slaves, besides hiring a number by the year. Hiring day at the South takes place on the 1st of January. On the 2nd, the slaves are expected to go to their new masters. On a farm, they work until the corn, excuse me, they work until the corn and cotton are laid. They then have 2 holidays. Some masters give them a good dinner under the trees. This over, they work until Christmas Eve, if no heavy charges are meantime brought against them. They are given 4 or 5 holidays, whichever the master or overseer may think proper. Then comes New Year's Eve, and they gather together their little alls, and more properly speaking, their little nothings, and wait anxiously for the dawning of a day, or the dawning of day. You know what's wrong with me today? At the appointed hour, the grounds are thronged with men, women, and children, waiting like criminals to hear their doom pronounced. The slave is sure to know who is the most humane or cruel master within 40 miles of him. It is easy to find out on that day who clothes and feeds his slaves well, for he's surrounded by a crowd begging, "Please, master, hire me this year. I will work very hard, master." If a slave, it sounds like how they hire immigrants who just stand around at a spot, trucks will pull up. If a slave is unwilling to go with his new master, he is whipped or locked up in jail until he consents to go and promises not to run away during the year. Should he chance to change his mind, thinking it justifiable to violate an extorted promise, woe unto him if he is caught. The whip is used till the blood flows at his feet, and his stiffened limbs are put in chains, to be dragged in the field for days and days. If he lives until the next year, perhaps the same man will hire him again, without even giving him an opportunity of going to the hiring ground. After those for hire are disposed of, those for sale are called up. So that's basically what you're dealing with. Um, and this is what uh, people had to see their relatives, their friends, their family sold and brutalized. And we're still living with that today. You go in these some of the neighborhoods, into black neighborhoods, and they'll tell you, my cousin was beaten up by this cop, or even sometimes another gang, or whatever the case may be, and my brother was shot, and it's just on and on and on and on. And so we have trauma in our genes, and we have trauma in our current life. So black life is trauma. Um, I thank you for your support, and until next time, take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe.